Title: The Script of Shadows. In a small, unassuming town not found on most maps, there existed a long-abandoned television studio, its crumbling exterior a shadow of its former self. The building, a relic of the 80s, was a graveyard of forgotten dreams. Dust hung thick in the air, and the remains of half-finished sets loomed menacingly. Its name, Hollow Valley Productions, was painted in bold letters above the entryway, a name that once promised laughter and thrill but now whispered tales of dread. As urban explorers, Samantha and her boyfriend, Derek, had heard the legends surrounding the studio. Rumors spoke of a series of unaired episodes from a notorious horror show that had been filmed but never aired after, say, the staff had vanished. Some claimed that the remaining footage was cursed, forever locked away in the depths of the studio, and those who sought it would be plagued by an insatiable darkness. "Let's do it," Derek urged, his eyes gleaming with a mixture of excitement and mischief. They had come to the studio to document their adventures on their YouTube channel. The thrill of exploring the unknown was what drove them, and tonight, the prospect of finding the infamous unaired episodes sparked an insatiable curiosity in Samantha. With only their flashlights flickering against the decaying walls, they stepped inside, the air thick with must and despair. Old props lay scattered, and faded photographs of cast members stared back with hollow eyes, as if judging their intrusion. They walked deeper into the bowels of the building, the wooden floorboards creaking beneath their feet. Samantha pulled out her camera, capturing the eerie beauty around them. "Look at this place. It's like a time capsule," she remarked, her voice echoing off the walls. Derek just nodded, his eyes riveted on a door at the end of the hall. It was a heavy, iron door, slightly ajar, inviting them into its dark embrace. "Maybe that's where they kept the footage," he proposed, his voice barely above a whisper. The air felt electric, tinged with foreboding. Against her better judgment, Samantha followed him as they pushed the door open. The room was dimly lit by a singular light flickering from a projector in the corner. On a battered screen, static buzzed, wisps of eerie imagery flickering hauntingly. They approached it cautiously, the hairs on their arms rising as the images sharpened. It was an episode of The Wraith's Game, a show infamous for its gruesome narratives about a ghost that hunted down its prey through twisted games in a once thriving neighborhood. They had watched it as kids, delighting in the thrills and shrills. But this episode, they recognized at once, was different. Its edges were frayed with an overwhelming sense of dread. "Did this air?" Samantha asked, her voice trembling. Derek shook his head, his eyes transfixed on the screen. Words appeared as the images shifted, a scrolling text of warnings and grave reminders. "Many before you have entered, none have returned. This is your only warning." Chilled, Samantha felt an icy breath brush past her. She looked around the room. "Did you hear that?" Derek didn't answer. He was too absorbed, mesmerized by the episode unraveling before them. As the scenes grew more intense, the ground beneath them began to tremble. Shadows whipped through the corners of the room, gathering like a storm brewing in the dark. For every scream of horror echoing from the screen, shadows twisted into grotesque forms, creeping ever closer. Suddenly, the projector sputtered, and the sound came alive, snapping Derek from his trance. "We need to," but it was too late. The lights flickered blindingly, and the screen exploded with phenomena beyond comprehension. Images of trapped souls reached out, faces of the cast members, each caught in an endless scream. It all clicked. The staff hadn't vanished. They had become part of the episode, forever ensnared. Panic seized them both. "Let's get out," Samantha cried, but the door slammed shut with a deafening bang. Derek pushed against it, but it refused to budge. In that instant, the shadows broke free, latching onto him, their cold fingers wrapping around his arms. "No, Derek," she screamed, watching helplessly as he was pulled toward the screen. He struggled, but the shadows consumed him, dragging him through the layers of static and horror. Samantha stumbled backward, terrified, but the whispers of the shadows urged her closer, promising safety if she just let herself go. Her heart raced as echoes of laughter mixed with wails. The last thing she heard was Derek's voice, a desperate plea fading into the darkness as she scrambled back, the world swirling around her. Suddenly, everything went black. When she finally opened her eyes, she found herself on the floor of the studio. Hours had passed, perhaps days. The projector had stopped, and the room was silent, yet filled with an oppressive sense of loss. Shadows flickered and flickered, always lurking. Samantha staggered to her feet. She glanced at the screen. It bore a new image now. It was her, eyes wide with fear, frozen in time. A new victim in the endless cycle. Her heart sank as the realization dawned. She was never meant to leave this place. She would become part of the show. Another story buried within the murky depths of the unaired episodes. As she felt the shadows tightening their grip, the room echoed with the sinister laugh of fate. The whispers began intertwining with her thoughts. She knew then, she would become one with the fear, forever staring blankly at the screen as her life played out in twisted reruns, for every story must have a tragic ending.